What's going on, everybody? D Style here. I appreciate everybody that'll be tuning in. If you're listening on the archive, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you share on your social media. This is very impromptu, by the way. This was not planned. I'm going to be playing Aftermath by ear every week because of my work schedule. I literally woke up a little bit ago. I can't, it is what it is. But look, my time is free now. I got to strike while I'm free. So that is that. Okay. To all my friends that do shows, if I'm counter programming you, it's not intentional. It is what it is. A couple of things I want to touch on. There's 3 fights I want to touch on. And a little snippet that I saw on Twitter from put out by Eddie Hearn and Matchroom regarding the Ebony Bridges fight with Shannon O'Connell. So I'm going to touch on these things. Shout out to El Chido. Shout out to Jesus M. Shout out to all you guys. Okay, let me go ahead and share this right now, by the way. A couple of things I want to touch on. Look, first of all, I have to be honest, it was a tough weekend for my predictions this weekend. It really was. Even the Janibek fight, like I got it right, but I didn't, right? Like I don't think anybody got it right, but it's just not what I expected, pretty much. Touches on the point that I made a couple of weeks ago. We can't just judge fights based on the bookies and what they say and just say, oh, it's a mismatch, don't do these fights. Sometimes the bookies get it wrong. Sometimes we get it wrong, right? So just something to throw out there, all right? I am really, well, let's just do this. Let's go fight by fight. On the lead up to this weekend, we had a fight on Friday, Edwards versus Felix Alvarado, okay? Sonny Edwards, I thought it would be, I always felt that was going to be a very interesting fight, an intriguing fight, and it was. It proved to be everything I expected it to be honest. It went a couple of ways that I expected. Now, let me make sure I'm live right now because I'm getting this weird, feedback. Can you guys let me know if I'm live? Like, can you hear me? Am I good? Really quick, can somebody in the chat let me know? Yo, I could hear you. I cannot hear you. Whatever it is. I don't think anybody can hear me right now. Am I just talking to myself? Somebody watching on archive. What the hell is he talking to himself for? Can you guys hear me? Okay, El Chilo said, I'm good. Great. There's a 20-second delay, but. So here's the deal. Sonny Edwards against Felix Alvarado. I 2/3 of the fight, honest to God, went exactly the way I envisioned. I thought beginning, Sonny Edwards, we all know he's a better boxer. Faster hands, faster feet. He's a superior boxer in there. You know what I mean? In terms of, being able to box on the outside, use the whole ring, turning, just utilizing the entire ring. He's extremely talented. And we saw that. He was making Alvarado miss. He was catching the shots. He felt comfortable against the ropes even. I was a little surprised how long he was staying against the ropes, but he felt comfortable. That surprised me. Even though we all kind of knew Alvarado's a little predictable, he doesn't switch up his combinations that much, but he punches hard and he's consistent and he's got that tenacity. He doesn't stop, right? So but nonetheless, Edwards did a little better than I expected, even though I expected him to do great in the first 4 or 5 rounds. He did even better than I thought. And maybe some expected that, or maybe they had higher expectations. I don't know, but I expected Edwards to do good, and he did better than good. And he did a great job in those first 4 to 5 rounds. Shout out to Afro-Rican. How's it going, brother? Edwards showed versatility. He showed he could stay calm under fire. Was rolling, the right hand of Alvarado would touch him at times, but he was doing a good job rolling with it. I thought he put on a great display of boxing. He really did. You could maybe even say he made it a little, maybe a little bit, harder than he had to, or whatever it is. But nonetheless, I totally expected the gas tank to start dwindling a little bit in the middle to late parts of that fight. You saw he was starting to slow down. I think Alvarado did a good job working the body in those middle rounds. He did a good job pressuring Edwards. He did a good job this time making him get in the ropes. He was doing a good job while he wasn't mixing up the combinations. Definitely something he needs to work on. He was still consistent. He was still deliberate in what he was doing. And maybe it was what's coming, but it's not going to stop coming approach, right? Still throwing everything with power. And that definitely impressed me by Alvarado, right? What I didn't, and this is where the gamble was for me, I honestly didn't know how Edwards was going to respond to that in the later rounds. I just didn't. Nobody knew. All of us were guessing. That's all it was. And Edwards closed the show on rounds 11 and 12, and he passed with flying colors, exceeded my expectations. And of course, moving forward, when I look at Sonny Edwards' fight, I need to take into account the new data I've processed and take that into account moving forward. Okay, how's it going, Calix?
Good, man. Good. I'm ready. Ready to rock and roll.
What you make of the fight with Edwards and Alvarado, man? Like what about it was what you expected, and what about it was what you did not expect, or was it all the same?
Well, we talked about it last week on your show. It was, we took Edwards by knockout off the table, and we took Alvarado by decision off the table. Now, the interesting thing was Alvarado was getting close to where you would say, you know what, he's making a fight out of this on the scorecards. The issue was Sonny Edwards, in my opinion, swept the first 6 rounds. But what we learned is Sonny Edwards can take a punch. And where we really learned that was the 10th round. The last minute, half of the 10th round, the last half of the round, he stayed on the ropes in the same spot. And he allowed Alvarado to tee off on him, upstairs, downstairs. And, of course, he's rolling with punches. He's blocking, picking off some of them, and then he would throw a couple flurries of his own. But he's trying to take a break because his legs are gone at that point. They're gone. Like, that was the thing about Alvarado, and we knew it coming in, is this guy's a pressure fighter, and he's a puncher. Now, I thought he was a little more basic coming in, but he proved to me Alvarado is better than I expected after watching this fight. He was better than I expected. Edwards was a little too wide on the odds makers coming in. But Edwards proved to me that he can take a punch, he can deal with pressure, and he's ready for the elite. That's what we have to find out now is, yes, he can take a punch. He's a pressure fighter. He's 19-0. We know he's an elite fighter now, but what's he going to do against elite peers? His elite peers, and that's the question with Bam Rodriguez moving down to 112. Hishiro Taraji possibly, because Edwards said he can move down to 108. There are fights down there with elite level fighters, and that's what we got to figure out now.
Yeah, but the question is, like, I like the pressure from Alvarado, and I knew this going in. I agreed with you. He's very basic, right? In terms of his punch variety, like he does the same sequence over and over and over. There's not even like a light punch here. I think I would like to see Alvarado, honest to God, I would love for him to work with somebody like a Robert Garcia or someone who specializes with like pressure fighters. And another thing, I would like him to do kind of like Mickey Ward used to do. He used to just kind of tap guys upstairs, just get their elbows up for that brief moment, just bam, and then throw a shot to the body. Everything's with power, and that's nice, but in the end, it backfired on him in 2 ways. One, Sonny Edwards, while he was still getting hit, he was able to anticipate the punches, and since he knew where they were coming, even when they hit him, he was able to take them, right? Or roll with them, or partially roll with it, or catch them, move out of the way. And that so that's number one. Second, it tired him out. Like Sonny Edwards was the one that I think had a little more left in the final round, and Alvarado needed to be the one with that gas tank, right? He got a little outsmarted, like maybe unintentionally, but Edwards did a little bit of a rope-a-dope on him, and Alvarado he got doped. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. And whenever you have, and that's what Ali did with Foreman. Foreman was throwing nothing but power punches. What did he do? He laid it against the ropes, blocked most of the shots, waited for him to get tired. Sonny Edwards whether he did it intentionally or not, I don't know. But I think his legs were a little gone, so he kind of had no choice, but it allowed him to anticipate those shots. But I want to see Alvarado, first of all. He could improve as a fighter. That's number one. He could improve as a pressure fighter. He needs more switch up. You know what I mean? He needs more variety in what he does. He needs to use the jab a lot more. His corner kept yelling, body, body. And I'm like, no, you should be telling him jab. Okay? Because once you throw the jab, if he lands a jab, the body's going to be open. Other things get opened after that. Yeah. But how much do you agree about that about Alvarado? And second, are you still convinced that with someone who could apply better pressure, smarter pressure, that Sonny Edwards can take that type of pressure?
Yeah. So first question, Alvarado, the thing we have to keep in mind is he was a pretty big underdog coming in. So I thought he fought a great fight. Going into what I thought was going to happen. I thought the scorecards were going to be wider. He made that a fight. Like after the 10th round, I'm thinking, this is close. And by the way, the commentators for that fight were atrocious. It's one of the worst I've seen. It was so biased. Alvarado was doing a lot of great work from 7 to 10.
Yeah.
A lot of great work. And
he won all those rounds in
that fight. I thought the fight was on the table going into the championship rounds, and that's where you see
I gave Edwards round 2, but it was really close. Who did you give round 2 to?
I had Sonny Edwards sweeping the first 6.
Okay, but round 2 was close.
I gave 7 through 10 for Alvarado, so it was 116, 112, I believe, on my card is what I had. So closer fight than I expected, and Alvarado showed himself well. But to answer your question about Sonny Edwards, one thing that's impressive to me about Edwards is he's one of the few fighters, Terrence Crawford's one of them, that he can transition from conventional to southpaw back to conventional like seamlessly. There's no fall off. You
don't even notice it, right? All of a sudden he's throwing right hands, and you're like, whoa, when does this happen? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and it matters because he's constantly giving his opponents different things to look at, and he's a master at finding the range because he's quick and he's got great feet. He's got some of the best feet in boxing, great lateral movement. So he's constantly switching. And the reason I bring that up is, sometimes moving left, sometimes moving right, and he can throw off of his back foot, and then he can jump in and land a shot and then get back out. The reason I bring that up is when you're dealing with pressure fighters, it may be a better, more technical pressure fighter than in Alvarado, and you have no power because he has no power. He's got four knockouts in 19 fights, Sonny Edwards. So he doesn't have power. When you have that stuff going against you, you got to be great at other things. And I think he truly is great with his footwork. I think he's an elite athlete in the sport, like elite level athlete. And also he showed to me that he's tough. That's what he showed to me in that 10th round specifically, is he's a tough fighter with a little bit of a mean streak to him. Yep. So I think he's going to fare well. The thing, though, is I favor Bam Rodriguez against anybody. So I just don't.
Well, just one more question about this fight. So when you look at, because we talked about the lines, right? Look, when I saw the odds, this is one fight where I said, because I seen Alvarado before, and I said, yeah, Edwards should be the favorite, but this is like way too wide. Like I just thought they were way too wide, and I think people expect it like a boxing clinic.
And you weren't alone, by the way, because there were like Fight Ghost on Twitter, like guys who really look into betting lines were all saying the same thing you were saying. It was like, he's plus 350, plus 380, whatever it was. I got to take a flyer on him. I got to put.
Yeah, it was worth it. And look, two of the judges had 7-5, another one had an 8-4, so it wasn't that far off. And if Alvarado doesn't gas, because he's the one that gassed in the 12th, right?
Yeah.
If it doesn't gas, he could come off with a majority draw. Like if he gets a knockdown or something, which I think he was close at times. But credit to Sonny Edwards, he's tough. That's one thing he showed. And look, fighters could improve in a lot of areas. They could get better technically, but there's certain things that can never improve. And we're going to talk about someone about it in a little bit. He showed he's got something. Like fighters are taken to deep places, and either they pass the test or they don't. You remember Victor Ortiz when he was taken to a dark place by Marcos Maidana, and we all just kind of knew this kid, he could have all the talent, he could improve, he could do all the improvement in the world, but he's never going to be. Yeah. Like when someone takes him to that dark place. Sonny Edwards, I think, proved in this fight, not only will I survive in a dark place, I'll excel. Mm-hmm. Like he came out on time. He's the one that said, okay, he finished that fight strong. And I just didn't know if he had that in him, and he proved that he did. So shout out to him for that. Speaking of fighters that maybe just don't got it, right? And I have to be very honest. I did more work assessing the fight with Edwards and Alvarado than I did Sparks and Love. I just did, right? The Sparks Love fight, I overlooked it. I honestly did. Me too. Because, and maybe subconsciously we look at odds sometimes and we're just like, whatever. And I think that's what I did. I saw the odds that were very wide, and I thought, well, they're trying to build Love a little bit. And then I just watched some kind of highlights of Spark. And now some of these things were still true, but I saw him and I said, yeah, Love's a lot faster than this guy. He's going to beat him to the punch. He's going to have a hard time landing clean. I think I thought Love was going to pick him apart. I just did, right? Now, granted, it was very limited data, but and then I looked at the bookies and I was quick to just like agree with the bookies based on the little data I saw. You know what I mean? What did you feel before we talk about the fight? How did you feel going into this fight? Did you overlook the fight? Where like,
I did. I agree with you. I overlooked the fight. I did because I believe it was a 9-1 favorite. I looked at the odds, and I didn't see much value in betting that fight because I really didn't know what was going to happen with the over/under either in this fight. Yeah. But Montana Love last fight, you started to see some warning signs. And I didn't think it was going to be this fight that got him.
I agree with you. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah,
I didn't think it was going to be this fight that would sneak up and get him.
I thought this was a confidence booster for him.
But we're so desperate for stars, I think, that we're trying to see things that aren't there.
Could be.
And I'm guilty of it too. And with Montana Love, what you saw this weekend was he's fighting in his hometown, and you see the pictures after the fight of a half-empty arena, and then from what I'm hearing, it's 90 to 95% comped. You're saying this guy, first of all, they're not building him towards being a star. That's number one. And then number two, you're starting to get Berlanga vibes with him because
oh boy,
we saw it in his last fight when he was knocked down, and we saw it again here is he could not get out. I was joking earlier on Twitter. He's great at blocking right hands with his face. Like he can't get out of the way of right hands. He can't. And I'm saying to myself, like, dude, circle to his left. Circle to his left, circle to his left, try to set up your power hand and get away from his power. And he wasn't able to do it. And you can see it's not like these are sharp, sharp straight shots. These are wide punches that Spark's throwing. And Spark could be a little, we saw that in this fight. It could be a little bit unorthodox, and they're weird punches, sort of like he gives you kind of Sam Solomon vibes, right? They're just coming from weird wide angles. But at the same time, these are punches that an elite level fighter or on his way to it should not be taking.
Yes. Do you think this is, and you know what's funny is that usually I'm very like strict about this, right? Like even like with Edwards, I'm like, oh, he's got to prove to me he can do it. But like with Montana Love, and look, maybe it's an internal bias because it's an American fighter and we're just used to like I like to call anointment syndrome. Like, well, he's gotta be one of the top guys, right? And I'm looking at the film. In the first round, I was a little confident. I'm going to be honest with you. I was like, yeah, Montana Love too fast for this dude, right? Then in round 2, Love got hit, and he just does too much. Like he gets hit, and he acts, and he panics, bro. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, look, I get that it's a big guy, and it looks like he could fucking crack. Like, Sparks. But you can't react that way. There's no poker face. There's no calm in the storm. There's nothing. And he's got Calix, this guy, he's giving, I know he said, like with Sparks, he gives you Solomon vibes. Like, Love is giving me poor man's version, Zab Judah vibes.
Very poor.
That's what he's giving me, bro. Like, this guy, he's got the speed. He's got decent power. Like, when he would land a straight left on he landed a couple of them on Spark. Spark felt him, but Spark didn't do all that extra shit. He didn't panic. You know what I mean? He stayed composed. And that makes a difference in a fight. And I'm watching this fight. There'll be moments where I'm like, okay, he's got the timing down. And then he would get hit. And again, he would go back to doing all this extra stuff. And then he's looking at the ref to bail him out. What are you looking at the ref for? Oh, he's roughhousing me. Oh, he's doing this. Oh, ref, he's being rough with me. It's a fight, dude.
Well, what it goes back to is what you just said about Sonny Edwards, about him knowing now, now that he can deal with toughness. Yeah. And he actually may even prefer it. But with Montana Love, it's once you deal with a certain type of guy who isn't going to go away, what do you do then? Because Spark, as limited as he is, he's a guy that's not going to go away. And you saw that after the fight, right? He's flipped over the rope. He lands on his feet, then laughs about it. And then when Montana Love going off in the post-fight interview, Spark is just like laughing it off. He's just one of those dudes that's not going to go away. He may be limited.
It's like this. I want to talk about that when they went over the ropes. First of all, before that, the headbutt, the head clash, right? Mm-hmm. This was a situation where I think the doctor fucked up. I think the ref fucked up. And I think Montana Love fucked up, right? Like, everybody fucked up. It was an accidental clash by the looks of it. It could happen with Southpaw and Orthodox, but I was getting a little bit of Devin Alexander, Tim Bradley vibes, were you?
Yeah.
Like, you don't tell the ref, I can't see.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't do that. Not if you want to continue the fight. Now, ironically, if they would have stopped it, it would have ended in a draw, majority draw, but whatever. I believe anyway. Or he would have won. I forget what the scenario was.
I think he was up on 2 and a draw on 1, but I could be.
So it would have been a majority decision for him.
Yeah, but I could be wrong about that.
So the ironic part is, so they get tangled up a little bit. He pushes them against the ropes. Now, I have to be honest. I don't think he was intending to like flip him over I don't think that was his intention. However, his actions still led to it, right? So we got to take that into account. I did see some people say that Sparks like flipped himself over, to kind of defend Love, but so I think it's half true. I think he knew he was going to flip over, so he doesn't fall on his head. He like helped himself with the momentum, so he could fall on his feet. He kind of sat on the apron and then fell on his feet. I think that's what it was. I think he's like, well, I'm not going to fall on my head, so I'm going to do what I got to do so I could land on my feet. It was a pretty athletic move. So Love won the Royal Rumble. He's going to go to WrestleMania to face Roman Reigns, right? I guess he forgot what sport he was in. But the actions of Love, the frustration of Love, caused that whole thing to happen, right? Uh-huh. Now, if we go by the book, that's a disqualification. If we go by the rule book, right, let the ref make the right decision. I mean,
yes. And I said at the time, I think that's the right call. And it started to get weird towards the end. He's complaining, politicking, and then they start to waffle a little bit. But I think that was the right call. But it wouldn't have mattered at that point because he was going to get a multi-point penalty, 2-point penalty likely, if the fight continues to go on. And he's looking for a way out at that point. So at that point, he's down on the cards. And he loses the fight either way, whether it's DQ or whether it's technical decision, early decision.
Yeah.
But that was going to happen either way. He was looking for a way out. That's what people need to take home from this is the result doesn't really matter to me. Is he was going to lose whether it's a DQ or whether he looks for a way out, because there's no doubt in my mind if they pull aside neutral corners, 2 point, and then they finish out the round, and then they go to the corners. There's no doubt in my mind they stop the fight in the corner. He's telling the ring doctor, "No, I can't see. It's got to stop." I think it's gonna happen. I think that's what happens.
So two things. Before they ask the fighter if he wants to continue after a headbutt, and on every and I honestly don't know, right? Because I know when there's a low blow, accidental or not, they tell a fighter he's got 5 minutes, right? Mm-hmm. Since the head clash caused him the damage, right? I think he should have been told, "Hey, you got 5 minutes." Okay.
Yeah.
So think about it. Don't tell don't make a decision right now. You got 5 minutes, and then once you're ready to go, or whether you don't want to go, you let us know. I think that's what they should have done. It's my opinion, but maybe that's not the case with a headbutt, though. I don't know. When the ref kind of pulls it apart to look at the cut, but whenever there's a headbutt, the guy that takes the clash and takes the damage, I think they should give him the option to recover, in my opinion, because it puts him at a kind of severe disadvantage, in my opinion. Right. But what are your thoughts on that? Because I think that would have salvaged this whole situation.
No, that's true. That's true. But ultimately, I just think eventually it heads to the same result. And what people need to take from this is there are clear warning signs at this point, right? As
people gotta
this guy is who he is. Like, I don't think he's gonna be able to deal with any kind of tough opposition going forward. That's why I say I get Berlanga vibes from it. Is you don't really have a pathway forward for Berlanga if you want him to be sustainable and win, because I don't think he's interested in being in tough fights with tough fighters. I don't think he's going to be one of those guys. So they're trying to market these guys as big time A-side fighters, and there's no pathway forward right now for that, because he can't be in there with tough fighters, even basic tough fighters like a Spark, because those guys are going to bother him and outlast him, and the blueprint is there right now after the past 2 fights. And second, you can't put him in there with technically sound elite fighters because he loses those too. So where do you go at this point? And
look,
it's already out there. Like these guys, it's going to happen the next fight.
We have to sometimes we have to accept what we see. Like it was kind of like people that kept hanging on and believing in Victor Ortiz, and it's like, when it gets tough, there was some exception, like that first Berto fight, right?
Yeah.
But you knew like what happened when the going got tough, his energy changed, and I think Love's going to be
Ortiz, though. He was still willing to get in there with tough fighters, and he was still fun. I don't get those vibes from Montana Love. I don't think he's necessarily a fun fighter.
Yeah, he's got to figure out what he's going to do, bro. Because look, he's got a lot of work to do with the roughhousing. That's number one. There's ways to deal with it. One way, like, bro, he's like, he was elbowing me, he was headbutting me, he kept doing all these things to me, but I'm not complaining though. I could deal with it. Like, no, you can't, because you're complaining about it. You're looking at the ref about it. You know what I mean? Like, you can't do that, bro. Like, this is like, at the end of the day, Sparks was the foreign fighter. He was the one coming to your hometown. Ain't nobody going to be doing him any favors. You know that. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you're looking at the ref for favors at this point. You can't be doing that now. And I will say this in fairness, I think the ref making the right call is a good look for what it's worth for American boxing. I think it does help send a message that if you're a foreign fighter, you're going to get a fair shake. Because if they don't stop it, and then or whatever, there's no penalty for throwing them over the ring. Although I don't think he threw him over. I explained what I thought happened, but we need to send a message that to all fighters, say, you come fight in the United States, you're going to get a free shake. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, at the end of the day, we're going to enforce the rules. If a dude throws you over the ropes, this isn't a Royal Rumble. You know what I mean? They're going to get disqualified. We can't send a message to these fighters like that. And it's more likely that Spark actually goes back to Cleveland to fight him again. It's more likely because he knows, hey, well, they were fair to me when I was there, so fuck it, right? But hey. I don't know how far Spark's going to go in this division. Just got to be honest, because I did see a lot of things that Montana Love was doing right that other fighters could take advantage of that aren't going to panic under the line of fire. But he's big for the division. He can crack, obviously. But I see Montana Love rattle before, though. So
yeah. And Spark is going to get some fights, by the way, at 140 because he actually turned down some big fights out in Australia. Not big fights, but big domestic level fights in order to take the Love fight because he wanted the higher profile fight. And he'll become a good barometer because they'll say, oh, this guy beat Montana Love, so let's see what this other fighter does against him.
What do you make of shout out to Ohio Runs Boxing, but he put out a stat that Australia is now 3-0 against Cleveland, Ohio. So Camboza's beat Mickey Bay, Tim Zhu beat Gachet, and obviously now Sparks beat Love. So
mistake by the lake.
Yeah, Cleveland, Ohio, step your game up. Hey, Callis, before I let you go, give me your take on Janibek. Are people being a little too harsh? Are they throwing him away too quick? This is the way I look at it. No red flag. I don't see any red flags, but a yellow flag.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but I don't really blame fans for this environment anymore. And I used to be harsh on fans for doing this type of stuff, but the issue is we've built this environment in boxing where these guys, these fighters at the top level are giving us so little to go off of, right? And in some cases, it's not the fighter's fault, but that they're not fighting that much. But when they're not fighting that much, we don't have much to go off of, right? And I said it earlier, like my Saints, I know they suck now. They're 3-7. They're terrible. Alabama in college football are not as good as they used to be. Like MLB, NBA, even the UFC. I threw out this example earlier. I was watching the UFC event Saturday night after the fight, and the UFC fans that I know are telling me once you get to the elite level in UFC, for the most part, you're not fighting anybody outside the top 10. You're not fighting outside of elite opposition. In boxing, that's not the case. So we don't have much to go off of. And that's going out further now. You have fighters 5, 6, 10 years in who we don't have elite opposition on their resume, so we just don't have much to go off of. So I can't really blame fans who are getting extreme after fights like this, right? Where, this guy was being built by many as the boogeyman, as maybe the best middleweight in the world. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm watching the fight, and I'm like, round 3 goes on. And you got to remember, he's a 20-1 favorite. The over-under is 4.5 rounds. So there was an expectation here. And you got to remember, Janibek is telling Denzel Bentley on Twitter, you are going to the hospital in an ambulance after the fight. He's telling him that. So when you build this type of hype, right, you have to deliver. And when fans have so little to go off of, you have to deliver. And didn't do that. And the frustrating part for me in this fight was it's not that he didn't stop Denzel Bentley, because boxing is littered with guys who had a poor performance and went on to do great things. It happens. Like it happens to almost every fighter, right? Andre Ward gets dropped early in his career. Then he goes on and he never loses a fight. It happens. But the thing here is, when you're Janibek, you're coming over to America, you have a lot of things going against you. The top middleweights are not stepping in the ring with you. You're not as marketable of a fighter because, let's be real, you don't speak English. You're an Eastern Bloc fighter. Let's be real about that. You have to deliver, right? And he didn't deliver in this fight. And the frustrating part for me was right hand, left hand, reset. Right hand, left hand, reset. And it gets to the 6th round, the 7th round, I'm like, right hand, left hand, reset. Right hand, left hand, reset. 8th round, he's doing the same thing. And I'm like, no, please don't tell me this is a pattern fighter. Please don't tell me this is a pattern fighter.
Yeah, he was basically doing kind of like what Alvarado was doing, but Alvarado was the underdog, not expected to win. And he's the favorite, expected to exterminate this dude. You know what I
mean? And this was one of those fights that's set up for you to look good. And the alarming thing for me, though, was right hand, left hand, reset in front of, instead of, against a guy who's standing right in front of you, right hand, left hand, reset. And then he hurts him in the 12th round and he goes back to right hand, left hand, reset. And I'm yelling at the TV. I'm like, buddy, give him some instructions, maybe throw some combination point. Like, you have to step on the gas and you have to be the thing that they knew about his fellow countrymen, same division a decade ago. They knew we got to fight on average every 4 months, sometimes every 3 months. We have to fight the best opposition available to us and mow them all down until the best opposition in the division eventually comes to us. That's what Golovkin's team knew. And he knew that he has to knock these guys out and put on a performance. And they marketed him well, and he did that. I'm watching this fight Saturday night, and I'm thinking to myself, maybe he's a pattern fighter. 8 knockouts now in 13 fights, so maybe he's not this heavy-handed fighter that we thought. I don't know.
Yeah,
so I'm not throwing him away. You're not throwing him away. But all I'm saying is I understand why boxing fans behave this way when
I'm not giving them the red card. I'm giving them the yellow card.
Right, and that's where I'm at with it, right? Like I'm going to be watching Janibek's next fight. I still, and I said it on the podcast earlier, as average as he looked on Saturday night, the division is so bad that I still, like, if you ask me, I think Janibek might beat them all. Like, that's where I'm at with it. That's Probably. How bad this division is right now. Golovkin is over 40, and Golovkin has the best win in the division.
I'm not on this train that all these people flipped like, after this fight. Oh, Andrade would have beaten him. Bro, right. Andrade looked average in a lot of fights. Andrade looked average against, like, freaking, what's his name? Against Sulecki and shit. He didn't look like a killer in that fight.
And on top of that, he's not stopping those guys either. He's not overwhelming those guys. And on top of that, he ducked Janibek twice. Like, you don't get some sort of mythical victory.
Yeah, they're like, oh, shit, we told you he wasn't shit. Well, he never fought nobody that was shit anyway. But like, it's like what are we doing here? You know what I mean?
But the thing is, the whole middleweight division is like that. We just don't have anything to go off of. So we have to. Where I'm at with it is Golovkin is still number 1 in the division. As sad as that sounds, he's 41 years old, and he didn't look so good against Canelo, but he still has the best win in the division this year against Murata.
B-Hop kept it going in his mid-40s. So
he went to Japan and unified, and nobody else in the division is doing anything close to that.
Absolutely.
So, I don't know.
Sounds good, brother. I know you got to get going, so you have a go, man.
Yeah, appreciate it.
That's Calix Boxing 2.0. Everybody make sure you subscribe to his channel. Nadeem in the building. How's it going, brother? I appreciate the $30.99 Australian currency. Much appreciated. All right. Is that, you see what I mean? Like he made a bet, Spark Swan. I get super chat money out of it. I ain't complaining. It is what it is. Man, what's going on with Love, man? Like, Love has, bro, it's been a while since I've seen somebody get exposed like that. Like, someone with high expectations exposed to that degree. It's been a while. Like, honestly, when they were like a 10-1 favorite, it's been a while. And the more I watch the fight and the more I'm seeing Love panic and I'm seeing him react to these punches as if Clubber Lang was hitting him. I mean, maybe Spark does hit that hard. If he hits that hard, he's a problem in the division, right? But I don't know. It's like you can't be that shocked when somebody hits you back, bro. And he looked rocky in his last fight, but I thought, okay, you know what this is? This is a fight to make him look good again, and you know what I mean? Whatever. It was a bump on the road, and then we saw what we saw, and I don't know if you could fix that. You know what I mean? I don't know if you can fix the mental issues that this guy has in the ring. I don't know if that's fixable. Other things are, a dude has a terrible jab, you can work on that. You know what I mean? They don't throw a hook right. You can work on that. Doesn't really use the jab. We've seen like Maidana, like Robert Garcia had him start using the jab. Like, you know what I mean? The game plans suck. You could switch trainers. There's a lot of things that you could improve in boxing. But no nuts, no glory is the same for a reason. And I don't know, man. Like I don't want to just throw, like, we're just talking about Janibek. I don't want to just throw, Love away, but he needs to earn it back. Like, he needs to earn that hype back. He needs to come back like with a vengeance. and start putting on some great performances for me to like be like, okay, maybe he is who I thought he was, but those mental lapses, those not being able to handle like pressure and handle roughhousing and panicking under fire are just things that you don't know, especially at the pro level. You don't know how a fighter's going to react to those things until those things happen, right? And he didn't pass the test, you know. Roughhousing happens. Fighters are in tough situations, you know. Floyd Mayweather was hurt by Chop Corley early in their fight. Chop hurt him. He was pressuring him. You know, it was roughhousing Floyd, and Floyd has a mean streak to him, so he fought back to the point where he was telling Chop to shut the fuck up and fight. You know what I mean? And when Chop was complaining to the ref or whatever, like you got to overcome those things. Like Floyd had a tough fight with a drunken master. He overcame it. You know what I mean? Andre Ward, he got knocked down by Boone. But he got back up, right? And he stayed composed and he got through that rough round. Like these things are going to happen. You're going to have fighters that are going to punch you in the mouth. And how you react in that moment, right? Especially when you have the speed advantage and you're winning the previous round. And if you can't pass it then, how are you going to pass it when you're behind? How are you going to pass it when you're the one behind and you're the one losing? How am I expected to believe that you could, you know, bring yourself out of that hole? And that's something great fighters do. And if you can't even do it when you're the favorite and when you're in your hometown, when are you going to do it? So I'm not throwing him away, but he definitely needs to earn it back. You know what I mean? Like in my opinion. As far as Janibek, I posted on my Twitter. You guys can check it out. You know, I posted a clip of Gennady Golovkin getting lit up by Kasim Uma. Kasim Uma was 2-4 in his last 6 fights. I believe you could even say he was 2-5 in his last 7. I would have to double check that, but he was 2-4 in his last 6. 2-4 in his last 6. And he was getting lit up. Now, he won the fight, in fairness, and he did stop. He did get the stoppage. But you see, Uma after that was just losing. He went through a losing streak after that. So this is my point. I'm not saying, Gennady Golovkin's trash. I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying fighters going to have tough outings, but pay attention to their character, right? Pay attention to how they're reacting to it. Janibek never panicked. Janibek was never like, you know what I mean? He might have been frustrated a little bit, but he never, like, he didn't do what Love did. You know what I mean? Like, he still showed character in the face of adversity. All these other things, he could improve these things. That's all. Now, whether he's going to be Triple G or not, I don't know. He's going to be the next Triple G. Okay? Those are tough shoes to fill, and we'll see. He may never live up to half of that. He may surpass Triple G. We don't know. Let's let the course proceed. But I seen Munguia struggle. I mean, you know, I seen Munguia struggle, bro. I seen Charlo struggle with Montiel. This isn't exactly like a division that has like some special fighter that Janibek needs to worry about. To be quite honest with you. You know what I mean? Munguia fought Dennis Hogan in Monterrey, Mexico. And they booed the decision. Because everybody knows Dennis Hogan won that fight. But everybody wants to get on Janibek on a fight that I do believe Janibek won. Right? Now, it doesn't mean you can't reassess or you think I've reassessed where I think Janibek is, but a lot of you guys are doing the cliff. Like, this isn't a stock market crash. It's just, the stock went down a little bit. It went from $30 a share to $27 a share. It sucks. It isn't where you wanted it to be. You were expecting the share to go up, but it didn't crash. Okay, like chill out. It happens. Tough fights happen. People need to understand, like when these guys are put up here, like they're the boogeyman, or which I've always said the boogeyman's a myth in boxing, but you want to put a guy up here and you want to compare expectations to reality. Of course, it's a failure. But at the end of the day, reality is reality, right? If you call him the next Triple G, you call him that's on you. You know what I mean? If you call him the boogeyman, go at the person that called him the boogeyman. I never called him the boogeyman. I never said he was the next Triple G. I'm about the journey, not. I don't look at a final destination and just annoying guys, right? So I'm just saying, Munguia Janibek is a good fight. Janibek Charles is a good fight. You know what I mean? Let's get these fights going. So if Andrade wants to get back in the mix, get back in the mix. All right. But like, stop coming to me like, oh, but like Munguia arguably lost to Dennis Hogan. So you could come at me all, oh, but he looks so good. It happens, right? And the point I was going to make, sometimes these opponents, you need to realize this is everything to them. Like, this is their big opportunity, right? When they're being overlooked and no one's giving them a shot to win, and a lot of these guys, they work hard in the gym and they have that mentality, oh, I can't wait to prove these people wrong. You know what I mean? And I think this is one of those situations. So it's whatever, okay? I rewatched the fight in the morning, fell asleep that night, but late shift. Shout out to Mark Nash, Remy, Nadeem's still in the building. So that's how I feel about those fights. You know, whatever. I want to talk about, and I'll let you guys go watch it if you want, but so they did an press conference, right? It was a Zoom call, and it was Shannon O'Connell and Ebony Bridges. They did a little press conference. Eddie Hearn was there. Typical Eddie Hearn press conference because he's the one that asks all the questions, but here's what it is. But there's a little short excerpt if you want to see it on Twitter. And Ebony goes on a tirade about how she's a hard worker, right? Look, I think what happens with Ebony Bridges and a lot of her fans, not all of them, but a lot of them, and even Ebony herself, they confuse criticism, right? Like valid criticism with like the people that just fucking hate her. You know what I mean? Like they just like, there's people out there that really, really dislike, right? They really dislike Ebony Bridges. All right. For whatever reason. And a lot of those people's dislike like is outside of the boxing sphere. Like it has nothing to do with boxing. You know what I mean? They're calling her the W word, and they're calling her like they're putting like her face on porn stars that are naked and shit on Twitter and all that. Like that's a little extreme for me. And I have nothing to do with all that. I'm speaking for me. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? To like that much about Ebony to be hating on her like that and be stalking her on the internet and all that. Right. A lot of her hate, I've also noticed there's a correlation with people that don't respect women's boxing that used Ebony Bridges as a target as well, because she's an easy target. Right. And everybody knows why. It doesn't make it right with some of the things they say and how far they go with the memes and attack her personally. Like it is a little too far, if I'm honest, but she's a target for a lot of guys that don't, and I say guys mainly, or a lot of trolls that don't respect women's boxing, right? They see women's boxing as a joke, and usually Ebony Bridges' name comes up when people speak of women's boxing as being a joke, because they'll point at like They do believe that she's only they give her a belt because she goes to, she wears lingerie at the weigh-ins, and they do say that on the internet. So whenever there's valid criticism, factual criticism of Ebony Bridges, guys like me get bundled with those weirdos, okay? And I have nothing to do with any of that, right? So I could point out the correlations, but I have nothing to do with that, okay? Here's the truth. This is not debatable. Like there's some things in life that you can't debate, okay? There's some things that are just fact, all right? Like, they're not, like, I'm just saying, facts are stubborn things, and facts don't care about your feelings, okay? So, no, look, I'm just going to tell you how I interpret what Shannon was saying. When she says, look, a lot of women like myself have been working very hard to bring up the credibility of boxing, for people to take women's boxing serious, right? Ebony Bridges gets triggered when somebody mentions hard work, right? Oh, so you're saying I don't work hard? I do work hard. Are you saying I haven't worked hard? Like, I'm going to speak for myself. I don't think anybody doubts that Ebony Bridges works hard, okay? I'm sure she works hard at the gym. I'm sure she hits the mitts. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure she's doing her best to learn and work on her craft. And I'm sure she shows up, she spars, she does road work. I'm sure she's working hard. Like, I don't think anybody's questioning that. Outside of the extreme trolls I mentioned, right? But you got to take the extremist out of the equation, right? No one is questioning her hard work, all right? At least I'm not, all right? I think Ebony knows what people are talking about, okay? She knows exactly what we're talking about. I already done a video on this, so I don't want to touch too much on it, okay? And maybe somebody has the answer out there for me. Make my day. There was a vacant, let me tell you how I discovered Shannon O'Connell. I saw a vacant WBA belt at 118 pounds. And I saw Shannon Courtney, who was not that long ago beaten by Rachel Ball, who, by the way, was fighting for a belt that I still can't explain how she got a shot. She was fighting for the belt. And then Ebony Bridges was fighting for the belt too, for a vacant belt. Now, in boxing tradition, you have two ranked opponents, preferably 1 and 2, but usually at least 1 or 2, and then someone in the top 10, right? And now I get that that's not always the case. And I'm going to prove to you that this is not because it's Ebony Bridges that I'm being critical, okay? I'm very consistent about everything I say. Ebony Bridges, I'm sure, worked hard. I'm sure did road work. Guess what? All boxers work hard, okay? Including Ebony Bridges, period. You can't box 10 rounds if you're not working hard. I get that, okay? What did she do to be in that fight? And what did Shannon Courtney do to be in that fight? When Shanika Johnson and Shannon O'Connell, when I did my research, were ranked higher, were actually ranked in the top 3 of the WBA. And they had them fight for the WBE gold, but the 2 unranked fighters fought for a vacant. They want no eliminators. They did not position themselves in the rankings, and they fought for that belt. There's no you can't dispute that. Now, again, there's a lot of nuance to this. Oh, well, it's not her fault. I get it. They gave her the shot. She took it. I'm not mad at her for it, right? But don't get upset when someone that was ranked, right, should have been fighting for that belt and calls out the situation. Like, that's what it was. Those are facts. And if I'm wrong, prove it to me. I want, like, forget about those trolls I told you about and all those extremists that just attack her for no reason. Just prove what I'm saying. Just prove me wrong. She loses the fight to Shannon Courtney, okay? Now, let me just, so I don't get anything wrong here, okay? Let me pull something up. Let me pull something up really quick. The fact is that the current reigning WBA champion right now should be Shannon O'Connell. Because that fight with Shanika Johnson should have been, if you take the rules into account, boxing tradition into account, the way things should happen, that fight should have been for the vacant belt. But, hey, they say fair play. Ain't no fucking fair play in boxing. Let's not call that fair because it's not fair. All right? Let's call it what it is. Right? Just call it what it is. She won that fight that should have been for the WBA world title. Okay? Point blank. Period. Like, there's no, like, disputing that. Go back. You go look at the rankings if you think I'm wrong. Or you could do what Ebony Bridges did and block me because you can't handle the truth. All right? Just do that. That's all I want you to do. Facts don't give a fuck about your feelings. Okay? So when I'm not going to put words in Shannon O'Connell's mouth. I'm not. Okay? I'm just going to tell you what I believe she means. That's it. So it's my opinion. I think she's talking about hard work as in, like, we're not talking about how hard you work on the bag and your sparring and preparation for a fight. All right? That's part of it, obviously. But the journey, the gauntlet, as I call it, the chase to the belt, winning those smaller belts that make you get in eliminators and work your way up the rankings. That's something Ebony Bridges never did. That's just the truth, all right? Ebony Bridges she beat someone who was 6-10, and then someone that was 3-3, and then she got a title shot. She hadn't even fought she had fought one 8-round fight that was against a girl that was 3-3. And she got a title shot. I don't blame her for it. I'm not mad at her for it. Just stop acting like you don't know what the fuck we're talking about. Okay, when we say, yo, maybe these other girls earned it more or deserved it more than you. Okay? That's just the truth. And we have people out here that cover boxing either don't know this or they're plain stupid. I don't know which one it is, but it's time to start doing your fucking research. That way, when Ebony Bridges is doing an interview with one of you, and she just says something like, "Wow, look at how quickly I got my shot," and she never did anything to earn her shot. Like bobbing her head like this, and like acting all snarky and shit, and then the interviewer's like, oh yeah, oh wow, she's really hating on you. Are you kidding me? And then she fought Beck Conley. God bless her. God bless Beck Conley. That's all I'm going to say. Look up Beck Conley if you want. No disrespect to her. I have all respect in the world for her. She's a journeyman fighter, but And then she fought Gangloff, who was 5-2. Many feel she won a very close decision, by the way. Only there was no judges. The ref gave it to her. Could have gone either way. I felt Gangloff won. Whatever. Fair play, as they say. Right? And then she got a title shot. A voluntary. What about Gangloff's hard work? She works hard too, right? She was given the short end of the stick, but she works hard. I'm sure she works just as hard as Ebony Bridges does in the gym. Okay? I really doubt Gangloff would have gotten a title shot if she had been given a decision by the ref, because that's what it came down to, what the ref said that night. And then she fought Cecilia Roman. Now, I predicted her to win that fight. I predicted Ebony to win that fight, and I'll tell you why. Nobody can name me a credible fighter that Cecilia Roman ever beat. Like, I've looked up her opponents. Dude, like, and I hate to do it because I don't like to talk bad about it. I just don't. But Cecilia Roman was fighting subpar opposition in South America, okay? And the girls she was beating, you look at their records, they were facing women with, like, horrible records. I wrote it down somewhere. I stopped doing it after a while. But I have it right here. I have the sheet of paper. Look at these opponents. The people she defended the belt against. Now, first of all, Cecilia Roman is 3-4 in her last four fights. She got beat by 3-0 journeyman before her fight with Ebony Bridges. And this wasn't mentioned at all. Like, the media never covers it. This is crazy. So, of course, when I saw that fight, I predicted. I saw the film. I thought Ebony would win. Daniela Rivero was 4-1 in her last 5 fights. This was the last girl she defended her belt against. This was a record of the girls that Daniela Rivero beat before she got her title shot. Well, while Shannon O'Connell was number 1 in the IBF, by the way. This is who she fought. Daniela Rivero, she beat a girl that was 0-5 before she got her title shot against the Argentine champion. Then she lost to someone that was 8-2-2. Before that, 3 fights before that, beat someone that was 4-5. Before that, beat someone who was 2-17. Before that, beat someone who was 0-4. Cecilia Roman's last title defense, in a very close fight, by the way, was against a girl whose last 5 opponents, their combined record was 14-33-6. Her previous defense, she beat a girl called Julieta Cardoso. In her last 5 fights, she was 2-3. And 2 of the losses were at 115 pounds before she moved up to fight Roman. Defense before that, Valera Perez. She was 3-2 against her last 5 opponents. She beat someone who was 4-6, someone who was 14-17, and then she lost to someone that was 1-2-2. She lost to someone that was 18-3, and she lost to someone. Oh, I'm sorry, she beat someone 1-6. So the numbers are there. I mean, it is what it is. So when I looked at that and I saw Roman fight, I said to myself, I don't know. I think Gangloff was better than these girls Roman was fighting. Shannon Courtney was better than these girls. Like I felt like Bridges was fighting the better opposition, believe it or not. Okay? So, like, I'm just putting that out there. Now, if Roman did something a couple of years ago, I don't know. I was looking at the records. So, and this is a common theme, by the way, these women fighting girls with losing records. Bridges is one of them. Bridges has fought 1, 2, 3 girls with losing records. Right? Not bad. Not bad. Not bad. Hey, thanks for the membership, Nadim, I'm sorry. Apologize. You beat me about the rankings. You're not wrong. I'm not wrong. These are facts. Like, I'm sorry. Like you could say what you want. Like it is what it is. It is what it is. All right? Now, why am I saying? I wouldn't bother saying all these things. I just wouldn't. Okay? If accusations weren't being made the other way. All right? Because Bridges could do interviews with people and just try to shred the resume of O'Connell and they just sit there. They just, and oh yeah. And like they don't even bother doing their research. It's just, this shit's crazy, bro. Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, but let's speak facts. So you really believe you really believe that she was speaking about Bridges for no reason at all? This is me from the outside looking in. When she was #1 in the WBA and the IBF? I interviewed Glenn Jennings not long ago, and he's like, yo, like she was #1 in the IBF for years. We couldn't figure it out. We were like, we made them fucking just enforce their own fucking rule. There's a reason Cecilia Roman didn't fight Chan O'Connell. I'm just going to tell you that she could have done that fight. There's a reason she didn't do it. All right? Point blank. Just saying. There's a reason. All right? Now, we don't know who would win, not win. They got to fight for that to happen. I'm just talking about risk, reward, like for whatever reason, okay? So let me break it down for you. All right? So some of the things that Bridges has said, they're just flat out wrong. Okay? So let me do this really quick. Just flat out wrong. Okay? Bridges was doing an interview, I think it was ID, whatever. She wasn't questioned at all, wasn't pushed back. Like, no, she was allowed to just say whatever she wanted, no pushback, whatever, right? And look, and let me just say, look, Bridges looked very impressive to me anyway in the Cecilia Roman fight. I'm not taking that away from her. I'm not. Okay. Even though I thought she was going to win, she won a little better than I thought she would. So I'm just putting that out there. Right. But here's the deal. All right. Let's again, we're sticking to the facts. I'm not talking about the weigh-ins and what she wears at the weigh. I don't give a flying fuck what this woman wears at her weigh-ins. That's me. I don't give a shit. Okay. I don't care what anybody wears at the weigh-ins. It's whatever to me. I care about the fights. I care about the boxing. Right? She literally said out of her mouth, well, actually, let's go to the Ring IQ interview. All right? When she trashes both Shannon O'Connell and Shanika Johnson, okay? But then just lately started praising Shanika Johnson because she's trying to befriend as many female fighters as possible. Maybe so they could say they think she won and the fight's close with O'Connell or something. I know the tactic. She did it with Courtney as well. Okay, but whatever, right? It's whatever to me. But she literally said out of her mouth, I couldn't even believe she said this. Why doesn't she do something? Go become a mandatory or something. She was a mandatory. Either she didn't know who the mandatory of the very division she's fighting in, or not division, I'm sorry, sanctioning body she's fighting in. Either she didn't know, or she's lying. I'll be honest, I don't know the answer to that. I'm not in her mind, I cannot tell you. But I do know she was wrong. Okay? It's like she's wrong. Like, and then after that, she went on to say that it hasn't been ordered yet, or people were asking on Twitter, like, well, has it been ordered? Because people were reminding her she is a mandatory. People let her know, right? And she was ignoring it. But other people were asking, oh, but have they ordered it yet? And she was saying, no, they haven't. She's not the mandatory. Like, she was still running around acting like she's not the mandatory. Those are just the facts. That's what she was doing. I have the receipts. Furthermore, let's talk about once it was ordered, she tried to get out of the fight by trying to get an exemption. Now, it's one thing if, let's say, for example, Beterbiev asked for an exemption so he could fight for undisputed against Bivol, right? In an all-Russian undisputed fight, right? It's one thing if and it's debatable that should be allowed or not. I get it. It's one thing if Canelo asks for an exemption because he wants to unify with somebody or something. That's one thing. Ebony Bridges was never the mandatory, never won any type of eliminator, nothing like that. Okay, now she did win the fight with Roman, okay, but she just wasn't in a position to ask for an exemption. And we know that because the IBF rejected it. I'll spare her their embarrassment, and I won't even repeat the reason that was given, okay, as to why she wanted the exemption. But let's put that aside. Something Ebony said. Why did Shannon O'Connell suddenly want to fight for the title now that I have it? She's trying to chase the bag. Something along those lines. I'm going to share with you something right now, okay? Because then she added, she said, why didn't she try to go for it when Corny had the belt? Or when Roman had the belt? Well, why when I had the belt? Right? Okay. Why are you always lying? I told you I just bring facts here, okay? What did that say? Shannon O'Connell targets Shannon Courtney. If Courtney, wants to call herself WBA World Champ, he should really fight the top of the table, and that's me. The one who was actually ranked, okay? So why are you lying? Like, why are you lying? And then why are you talking like you're Canelo or some shit? Like, well, dude, like, now look, shout out to Eddie Hearn and Matchroom. They put up a decent amount of money for this fight. It's not my business to disclose what it is. I read the reports, but it's a good payday. It's decent payday for both women, but they're not making $1 million. Okay. Like, they're not making it's not like super life-changing money like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I make in a year almost what Bridges is going to make. Okay, so spare me. Like it's good for you. You're getting the bag, but like you're on the undercard of a Josh Warrington fight. They're going to put you there, and Eddie Hearn's putting up the money. It's a career high payday for you. It's I believe a career high payday for O'Connell as well. Boo-hoo. Okay, like she's acting like I'm giving her a payday. Like, you do know that this fight was not going to happen if it wasn't ordered. And Eddie wants to give you every advantage imaginable, so that's why he's doing the fight. That's why he paid for the fight, and that's why he's doing it in Leeds. Like I'm just saying, like let's not act like there's nothing wrong with it, but that's what it is. So with that said, look, it's whatever to me. There's more lies I could expose, bro. Like, it's whatever to me. But I just want to talk about the people that just too invested and the female fighters that get too involved, like with because about Bridges. Like, y'all sad out here, bro. Like seriously, like defending Bridges' honor and shit. Like I just don't get it. Okay. Like it's crazy. Like, yo, like, it's just crazy, bro. I don't even know what to say, man. I just don't know what to say anymore. I just don't. Like, she didn't want to fight for a world title till you won the belt, but she was already the mandatory. Like, she fought up the ranks for what? Like, for what reason? Like it just does. Like, this whole thing could be picked apart, and unfortunately, nobody gives her pushback when she's interviewed. Because either they don't know or whatever, or they want to keep their access to her. Well, whatever it is, man. Like, hey, do you? You know what I mean? Do you? That's cool. But like, I don't give a fuck what Shannon said. Like, I just don't care that she thinks she looks skanky at the weigh-ins. Like, so what if she said that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, we need to defend her honor. Like, shut up. Like, if y'all cared about the honor of women, like you would be like defending Marlene when she got body shamed for her fucking baby body and shit. Okay, like you know what I mean? Like, it's all hypocritical shit, dude. Like, so why does she call her name? Like, who gives a fuck? It's just not that serious to me. Is it that serious? Is Ebony Bridges that? Is there like feelings that fragile that if you're gonna be like fuck the world, like, and I'm gonna dress with a fucking micro thong and like wiggle it in front of fucking Eddie Hearn, you want to do all that? Hey, knock yourself out, like shit. Fuck the world, but if you're gonna be fuck the world, be fuck the world. Like, don't be like fuck the world and then they say I'm not classy. Like, if you really don't care, then why are you so butthurt about it? And all these women fight like standing up for her. Like, oh, let's defend her honor. Like, gives a fuck. It's a fight. It's boxing, right? I don't give a shit. Like if somebody got called out for what they weigh at the weigh-in, and to get so butthurt about it, and I see a lot of you, whatever, bro. Okay, shit don't matter to me, right? Just doesn't. She could come out with a shit Sable hat on, like in WWE Attitude Era, right? She could wear paint to the weigh-in for all like you. I don't give a fuck. But if somebody says, "Hey, you look like a skank for it," look, I'm not saying I agree with it, but don't get all butthurt about it either. You know, this shit's crazy, bro. All right? If you're gonna be fuck the world, be fuck the world all the way. Like, don't go halfway with it. Don't act stupid. Like, oh, we all take our clothes off at the weigh-in. Ebony. Like, did you forget what you were saying about Heather Hardy? How she looked raunchy at the weigh-in? You didn't get why she did that? And then once you saw that it kind of benefited you a little bit, it helped you, it props to you. You know what I mean? It fast-tracked you. Let's just be honest. That's what it did. You can't be on Ring IQ doing an interview saying when somebody was asking you, hey, do the boobs get in the way when you box? And you got mad and then you start to know, no, these boobs, they give me attention. You know, these boobs that help me get where I'm at. You can't be doing that. They're getting mad when somebody calls you out for it. See what I mean? You can't go out there defending Ebony saying, oh, it's not her fault she's hot. Okay, it's not her fault that her being so hot fast-tracked. It's not her fault. And then get mad because somebody called her out for it. You can't have it both ways. You just can't. I mean, personally, I don't give a shit. I don't give a fuck if a girl wants, you want to wear a micro thong at the weigh-in? Cool. Right? You want to, I don't give a fuck. Lingerie, if you want to wear like leather underwear, whatever the fuck you want to do, walk out with a dildo. I don't give a fuck what you want to do. Okay? I don't give a shit. But just don't get mad when people that just don't like that type of shit speak out on it. Courtney speaked out on it. She got bullied. She got ganged on by all the by the jackals and the hyenas and shit. Okay? Got ganged up on. And like, people acted like it was the worst thing anybody could ever say. When I hear worse shit be said all the time in boxing. All the fucking time. We have people say they want to catch a body. Okay, we've had people say I want to put somebody in a coma. Okay, we've seen people say I want to kill this person, that person. Now I'm not saying I necessarily agree with those things, but let's just stop. Like stop. Like, who gives a fuck? All right, I'm sorry. Like you're not furthering women because you defend a girl wearing lingerie at the weigh-in. It's just not. Okay, that's virtual signaling bullshit. That's a weak. Like, stop. All right. Are you kidding me? It's just crazy. It's just insane. Who cares? Who cares that one boxer says some, like, talks shit to another? Who gives a fuck? All right? I don't give a fuck. I just don't. Right? Especially if they're going to fight. I have a problem when they're not going to fight. When they talk shit and they're not going to fight, that's when I got a problem. All right? When Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis took all this shit and they're not going to fight, they don't want to fight, then that's a problem. But if they're going to fight, man, talk your shit. I don't give a fuck. I always called her skanky. It's sending women behind. Like, stop. Ebony Bridges was in her 30s talking shit about, Heather Hardy. Okay? But like, here's one more thing. It's not the same thing to wear a microthong and prance around. I don't care. I'm just saying. But it's not the same thing as wearing like a sports bra and regular, not like, yes, everybody takes off their clothes, but you know what you do. That's why you announce, what am I going to wear at the weigh-ins? Stop contradicting yourself. Be proud of it. You know what I mean? Go all the way with it. Fuck it. You know what I mean? Come on naked. I don't give a shit. Like, I don't care. Right? I'm just saying. But with that said, that's all I got. I got nothing else to say. I'm done with this rant. This rant went on too long. All right? But at the end of the day, this wasn't random. Like, this was like, yo, why is she getting a shot when I'm like number one? Why are me and Shanika Johnson fighting for the belt? Well, why are these two unranked girls fighting for the belt? What the fuck's going on over here? I'd be mad too. Who the fuck wouldn't be mad? Who wouldn't talk shit? Like seriously. Like, anybody would have talked shit. Think about it. If you were ranked number one and two unranked fighters fought and you were fighting a tougher opponent, you want to get mad? You see the quality of Shanika Johnson. She's a champion at 122 right now. So I'm just saying. But whatever, man. Fuck the world. Whatever the fuck. D-Style doesn't give a fuck. I'm just going to say that. Okay? I don't give a shit what people do. All right? But let fighters talk their shit. Okay? Stop putting videos out. Oh, she's a bully. She's bullying me because she wants to fight me. Like, stop. She talks shit about me. She's bullying me. Like, shut up. You're a fighter. Seriously. And one more point just to prove that I stay consistent with this. Okay? If we're going to be equal, if women's boxing is going to be taken serious, then we need to keep the critique, right, the same. Across the board. When Canelo Alvarez fought Matthew Haddon, I called bullshit. Okay? Because Matthew Haddon was not even in that division, was in a lower weight class, okay? Was brought up that weight class to fight for the vacant belt, basically to give it to Canelo. And there was other guys that were in the 1, 2, 3 spots that Canelo could have fought instead, that were leapfrogged. And then I called bullshit. And back then, I said that was horse shit. So if I'm going to keep that energy with Saul Canelo Alvarez, well, you don't think I'm going to keep the same energy with these girls? Well, just because they're girls, I'm not going to criticize. I'm not going to do any criticism. If I see two unranked fighters fight for a vacant belt, I'm not going to say anything because they're women. Oh, you can't say that, D-Style. It's women. Don't be a bully, D-Style. Don't criticize these women now. Bullshit. Okay? As simple as that. So, with that said, this is D-Style Boxing. Keep it boxing.